Lessons Learned. I'm Sherry. This is Finish It Friday. We're going to see what I got finished and what some of you got finished. So hang on to the second half of this video so you can see all the wonderful projects that all of you have been working on, some for a long time, some things got whipped up quickly, and it's just some really interesting stories, and we're just going to have a good time with all those photos that you sent in. But first, let's talk about what I got done this week. I didn't get anything completely finished other than I got this off of the long arm just a little bit ago. As you can see, it is not even trimmed. But if you remember, some of you sent me bird fabric upon request so that I could make this quilt. And hopefully maybe next week I'll have it bound and I'll have a nice picture for you outside of this so you can see it. But let me see if I can find a block to show you the pretty quilting I did on it. This is the one that's been on the long arm for like a month because I've been doing it little sections by sections. Get this up here so you can see it. So you can see there those large half square triangles have a design, and then all the way around the what is that? It's an octagon shape. There's another design and the other little light blue strips, and then there's one big design in the middle of the plus sign, and so on. So I don't know if you can see it or not, but I'll get you some better pictures next week when I have it completely finished. If I get it finished, I think I probably will, because I like to do binding. Yes, I'm one of those weirdos that like to do binding. So that's one thing I'm so happy to have off of my to-do list. And then as you can see behind me, I've been working feverishly on these bow tie blocks. I just love these little bow tie blocks. If you didn't see Wednesday's video, go back and watch that, and I'll show you right quick how to make this and how versatile it really is in creating designs, because you can turn these all sorts of different ways to get all sorts of different designs. And the Facebook group, some of you have thought of or maybe seen a pattern somewhere where you use the bow tie block to make other configurations of quilts. So maybe on Monday I can talk to you a little bit more about that. I just have them on the board right now in the what I call the circular shape. If this is one block, it's the circular shape, or it's the X, X's and O's. How about that? Or you can put them in a straight line and you get a whole different effect. So I'm enjoying these. They're so fun to do, very fun to do. And I'm just using my scraps and some yardage that I have for the background. So yeah, if you missed that video, go back and watch that and get started on yours, because we're kind of sewing along on these. So I want to see how many of you will join me on this little sew along and share your pictures when you get somewhat along on your project or finished. So I'm just going to get right into the photos. I don't think I have anything else that I finished this week. I'm working on the wreath blocks chain piecing. So I don't have another block finished yet, or blocks. There's 11 blocks, 11 full blocks, and then 2 half blocks so that they're offset. So now I'm just going through and using that glue that I mentioned on Monday and doing my sewing flips, stitching flips, and doing it that way, which is not my favorite, but I wanted to try the glue out and let you know how I liked it, and I'll have more to say on that on Monday. So tune back in for Monday. Okay, let's get into the email and see what we have here. The photos started coming in right away after last week's episode, and we've just got some really cool stuff to share. I think the first one I have here is Mark. Now, this is a kit, but it's not just any sort of kit. It's a Tula Pink kit. So here's what he says about this masterpiece here. It says, when Tula Pink came out with her latest line, Bang, And I was thinking about that mark. I think that's called Big Bang. And then Roar is some of the fabrics that's in that. She came out with a pattern for it, yes. I couldn't resist. It's huge, 96 by 96. It used 25 fabrics, foundation paper piecing, curved piecing, fussy cutting with templates, mitered borders, and lots of bias edges. And once I started, I couldn't stop. Yeah, that's kind of how I roll. I like all that variety of things in a quilt. And look what, like I said, a masterpiece it turned out to be. I looked this up online, the kit. It's quite an expensive kit, but it is something that would really sharpen all of your piecing skills. So congratulations, Mark, on putting together this wonderful quilt with the Tula Pink dinosaur line that she has out right now. It is absolutely fantastic. Great job. I love seeing this. The next one is from Yvette, and she has a little story here, and this is the front and the back of a quilt, I'm pretty sure. Yvette says, hello from Frankston in Melbourne, Australia. I made my way to your channel from a mention in a Pat Sloan video a while ago, and I've been watching your videos since. I love your Monday quilt chats and really enjoy seeing all the amazing quilts you and your followers make. Thank you. This is my own most recent finish. It is a baby quilt for a friend of my son's baby boy. I used both of Lori Holt's Farm Girl books to choose blocks from for the front. Some of the blocks were quite challenging, particularly the horse. I then made a second quilt from the books for the back using some novelty baby boy fat quarters I had lying around. I free motion quilted it on my brother's sewing machine. I am still learning, but was really happy with how it turned out. Yeah, so it was like 2 quilts in one. And you're going to see that again later on in this episode on another quilt. But she was talking about how difficult the horse was. And yeah, I can see all the little teeny tiny pieces in his horse blanket. And then the basket handle would have been difficult. There's a lot of different skills that you sharpened on this project, I can see. And look at the back. Looks like a whole nother quilt. And she did her free motion quilting on there. Great job. And thanks for watching the channel and all of your nice comments that you made. Tamara. She has a quilt that was inspired by Jen Kingwell's quilt in her book Quilt Recipes. She says this is her quilt that she made it herself, but she used another designer's quilt as inspiration. And she said she started with the turtle fabric in the middle and worked out and around. A great way to use my batik fabric stash. This was a fun project to sew different block designs, and I've even learned how to face my first quilt. The quilted design is swirls to mimic water and measures 49 by 51. And Tammy is from Louisville, just across the river from me. So yes, I have that quilt recipe book by Jen Kingwell, and I saw what quilt you were inspired by in there. I found it. I was going to bring my book up and show that, but if some of you have the Jen Kingwell's quilt recipe book, see if you can find it. Diane made some snowflake quilts. She says, this winter I worked on 2 versions of the snowflake quilt pattern by Modern Handcraft. The scrappy blue and white version is all 3.5-inch squares with an edge-to-edge swirl quilting design. My friend wanted a red and white version, and it was so interesting to see how different it looks from the scrappy version. Beth, our long arm quilter, did a few different designs, including a snowflake in the white box area, to help accentuate the snowflake. Thanks for all your great videos and quilting inspiration. Thank you, Diane, for sending in your quilt photos. And I looked very closely at these, at the quilting, the difference in them, and how you get a totally different effect with the way the fabrics are used and the difference in the quilting. I'm always drawn to blue and aqua and green, but I have to say, that red one is pretty sharp. I like it. I think the quilting that she did really set off the snowflake well. Great job. I love these. Care. She says, attached are 5 fundraising quilts that I made for 4 different dog rescues. Good for you. Plus 4 covered journals. Thanks for teaching us how to make those. So first we see her quilts here. We have some floating boxes. One with a light background, one with a dark background. We have one with dogs on it, that red, black, and white one. Cool. That's appropriate for the charity, isn't it? And then another one that has a variety of dog fabric in it with the black sashing. And then we also have a blue one here that has cat fabric in it. So you are just so crafty with picking your fabrics for the pet rescue place. That is awesome. Good for you. I love this. And a little note on the Blues Boutique, I do have all the blocks ready now, and I'm going to put those together maybe today. We'll see if I get to it. Here's her journals that she made a while back. I had a journal cover video. I think it was back in September-ish, because we were doing stash timber, remember? Trying to do some stash busting projects. And here she has some animal themed and other themes. Well, no, they are all animal themes, aren't they? Leashes, paw prints, there's some bears, some dogs, and some other dogs. So those are really cool. I love them. Gail, she says, I finally finished my Catalina Stars, a fig tree quilt pattern. Last weekend she finished it. It's a scrappy quilt using 4 different design collections. Missouri Star Quilt Company did the long arming for me. Yes, they have that service where you can mail them in. I love the final result, and it was so easy to make. 51 by 56, a perfect throw. Yes, that is a good throw size. Beautiful. I love it. I love all the different colors in there, and your stars just twinkle. Very nice job. I love it. Arlene sent in the rest of her Dresdens. Remember, she had some started here a couple shows ago. Now she has a full top together. So I like seeing all that put together. So never hesitate to send your photos again if you just showed us a block on one of these episodes and then later you have your quilt top done. You can show it again, because that gives us the full picture. But Joy sent this in, actually, and this is her mother Arlene's quilt. And she's been working diligently to get this completed and wanted to share it again. I love it. Very vintagey looking. I like this. Okay, Sun-Dyed Carol. We haven't heard from you for a while, Sun-Dyed Carol, but she sent us some cool things. Oh, she also wanted to mention something very special. She said she ended up donating 45 quilts for the 45 homeless shelter pallets that will be opening soon. And then there's also a link to that I want to show you in a minute. But I want to show this this quilt here that she sent, and I think she used all scraps for this. Yes, it measures 78 by 78, and it's also going to be donated at some point. And she said she used everything: her hand dyeds, her batiks, and some commercial fabrics. And then I also want to put a photo in here of Carol. She's on the left in the photo, and this is with her stack of 45 quilts that she donated for this particular House of Hope shelter for the homeless. So very good work. You've been very busy enjoying your hobby and then passing on the benefits to those in need. That's awesome. Shelly has a quilt that I had a hard time figuring out which was the front and the back, because to me this is two completely different quilts. She's calling it a disappearing 9 patch, front and back. So I don't know. The disappearing 9 patch is obviously the one with the smaller squares on it, right? And then the one with the bigger squares is the back. That would be my guess. But either way, they're both beautiful quilts, either way you turn them. And then Shelly does her dense quilting on there that she does. So a very nice, cozy, warm quilt. Any way you turn it. Ginger, she has a Ring of Fire quilt. She says, I was asked by a good friend for a quilt to donate for an auction where 100% of the proceeds was going to help the Texas fire victims of 2024. I was more than glad to help with this. I went through my stash of quilts I had pieced together but had not yet quilted. I pulled out this one, not remembering at the time what the name of the pattern was. When I did look up the pattern and seen the name of it, that it was Ring of Fire, I knew immediately I had picked the right quilt. Yes, this was a kit I got from Stitch in Heaven in 2021. She contacted her Longarmer and told her the situation, that she needed it right away, and she got working on it and got it finished for her in short notice like that. So it was about a week and a half that she pulled this out and got it all finished up for the victims of Texas fires. So yes, very, very appropriate. And I looked at that pattern for a long time too on your quilt to see why they called it Ring of Fire. And I think it's because of the triangles that are chasing each other around those red diamonds. That's what I'm going to go with. But it's a nice pattern. I love the colors that you chose for it. Well, you said it was a kit, but it's a nice color combination. Here's one from Nancy. She said, my daughter graduated from college as a registered respiratory therapist. I started this quilt in January and finished it the night before her party. At the time, I couldn't find any stethoscope fabric, so decided on the Heartbeat. This is my second quilt ever completely done. First was my husband's that I showed a few weeks ago. I actually sewed, quilted, and bound it. It's by far not perfect, but she likes it. I used a wavy pattern in the sashing and used my friend's Q19 to do the stippling in the blocks. It's a learning process, but I'm very pleased with how it turned out. Yes, I love that. That's so appropriate for someone in the medical field graduating. That Heartbeat fabric there, and the grays and reds and whites coordinate so nicely with that fabric. And she's got a close-up here of that Heartbeat fabric. I've seen it before, I believe. Nice. Very good job. And then Jean. Okay, Jean's been busy on her bow ties. I don't know if this is from before or not. Let's see. I haven't read this one yet. It just came in. It says, here's a miniature quilt top made of Civil War reproduction fabrics, which I made a while back, but have not yet quilted. Each bow tie square measures 3 inches finished, with the little individual squares being 1.5 inches finished. The entire top is 22 by 25, which includes the 2 borders. I used solid cheddar as the background, influenced by Bonnie Hunter's designs and style. I understand that the cheddar color was often used during Civil War times. Yes, it was. That is a historical fact about some of the quilts that we see that have that orangey yellow. They call it cheddar. This is very nice, Jean. She used 3-inch squares and 1.5-inch knots. So just remember, if you want to do a bow tie, you can make your squares any size you want, and then just make your knot pieces half that. And I love the big print around for the large border that you have. Excellent. All right, so you don't want to let Jean get ahead of you. You want to get going on your bow ties, and I want to see your bow tie quilts. So get busy on those. I'm working on mine. I'm going to have it before you know it. Fun blocks to make. So get your scraps out, or get a bunch of fat quarters out and watch that video again, or watch it for the first time and start working on your bow tie quilt. I think you'll be glad you did. And it's very versatile. You can do so many different layouts with it. All right, so this weekend is coming up. I'm sure we'll all be busy in our sewing rooms, among other things that we have to do in our lives. But at least sew a little bit if you can, and a little bit adds up over many days until you finally have something completed that you can send in for Finish It Friday. So I will see you back here Monday for Monday Quilt Chat, and then again on Wednesday for another video. And I just want to warn you ahead of time that if there's no video on Wednesday, it will be on Thursday. So we won't miss our midweek video. It just may be one day delayed. All right, we'll see you soon. Bye.